Welcome to Core Knowledge, Part 5, Listening and Learning Strand, Intervention and Differentiation. We will look at ways you can differentiate in your classroom when teaching the listening and learning domains. Please be sure to have a piece of paper or notebook to jot down any ideas, questions, or wonderings you may have during this part. Take a moment and think about this question. Why do different children need different support as they are learning to read? Pause this video and jot down your answer to this question. The objective of Part 5 is to become familiar with the scaffolds already built into Core Knowledge, Listening and Learning strand, and the resources available for differentiation and intervention. You may ask yourself, what is differentiated instruction and why is it important in a core knowledge classroom? Differentiated instruction is an approach to teaching in which teachers actively plan for students' differences so that all students can best learn. In a differentiated classroom, you may divide your time, your resources, and efforts to effectively teach students in your class that come from different backgrounds, have different reading abilities, have different skill levels, as well as interests. Differentiation is often seen in a small group setting or centers, but differentiation can also be done during whole class instruction when there is an area of need where most students need remediation or reinforcement. For differentiation in the listening and learning strand to be effective, you must plan different types of interventions for your students, and you must plan based on the needs of your students ahead of time. We will go over several examples and strategies that you can use for interventions for your students for listening and learning instruction. The first one, provide an audio version of the read aloud for students to listen to in advance so they have additional exposure. Repeated reading is a powerful way to access comprehension. Reread the text to build student comprehension, reading, and listening stamina. Provide scaffolds or probing questions to get the exemplar answer to your questions being asked. Have students complete an additional Part B to reinforce the knowledge they have learned. Review vocabulary before reading the story. Utilize sentence starters or anchor charts and post them around the room as a visual aid. Group students carefully to increase student discourse. Provide graphic organizers to help students organize their thoughts and post those around the room as well. And lastly, chunk tasks that appear to be longer into smaller, more bite-sized tasks. And that way you can provide multiple and frequent checks for understanding. While it's important to plan for differentiation and intervention, sometimes intervention and support can be a simple, spontaneous action. Here are some additional quick interventions to consider. Remind your class of the learning targets that they are working towards for the day or for the week. Increase your wait time. To get students to think deeply and engage in conversations with the class, you may want to say to students, okay, tell me more about your thinking. Now, talk to your partner and explain your answer in a new way. Then I want you to hear your idea again. Anchor charts are a great visual for students to recall previously taught material. If using anchor charts, you should consistently direct students to the anchor charts to remind them of the steps or prompts that they were taught. Repetition and consistency is necessary in helping students to build knowledge. Create some type of visual aid or signals that students can use to show that they need some additional help. Ask students to share their work. And lastly, model your own thinking and reading processes for students while reading aloud. Don't forget that even though you model for students, you must give them productive struggle time to work through future tasks or readings. Core Knowledge provides numerous curricular resources to support differentiation and intervention. Over the next few slides, we will consider 5 essential core knowledge resources that are available for you to differentiate instruction in listening and learning lessons. The first resource is the pausing point. The pausing point is found in each domain for all grade levels. It provides many tasks that students can complete to demonstrate what they have learned from the lesson. These tasks can be used to fit the needs of your students as a means of review, enrichment, or remediation. The pausing point is presented in the domain after teaching the first 4 to 5 lessons. The supplemental guide has been designed for supporting diverse learners. Teachers can use the provided additional scaffolds for ELL students, as well as students with varying exceptionalities. However, the guide has been very useful for supporting all students of all backgrounds. The guide has a wide variety of graphic organizers and other tasks that will help students. It may be beneficial to choose an additional Part B from the supplemental guide to reinforce what students have learned. There are a vast array of different vocabulary, scaffolds, and activities within the supplemental guide as well. Every listening and learning domain includes a list of trade books connected to its topic. The trade books can be used as an additional support for students to deepen their knowledge. You can develop text-dependent or text-specific questions about trade books that students can read. These trade books can be read independently or within a small group. The domain review is used as a review for students before the domain assessment. There are several tasks that can be completed based on the needs of your students. Some activities can be done independently or within a small group. The culminating task. These are found at the end of each domain. The purpose is to have students complete different tasks to solidify key ideas from the domain. It can also be used to review, remediate, or provide an extension to the domain. One of the key ways to differentiation in instruction in the listening and learning strand is to scaffold complex text for students. Within the listening and learning lesson, many scaffolds are already built in. Take a moment and pause the webinar, and I want you to read through a CK lesson plan. Locate the CK Part 5 folder and find the lesson plan entitled CK Part 5, Slide 61. This lesson plan is taken from Grade 2, Domain 9, Lesson 1. Think about the following reflection questions as you look through this lesson plan. What scaffolds or supports are already built into this lesson plan? What additional scaffolds would indicate the teacher has carefully considered the language demands of this content? Now, pause this video, read through the CK lesson plan, and write down your answers to the reflection questions. Welcome back. After viewing the lesson plan, let's look at some key scaffolds that are already built into the lesson plan. One scaffold is the read aloud, text-specific and text-dependent questions. Attention to core vocabulary, such as the words plantation, slavery, survival, value, wages. Post read aloud word work on the word value. Additional scaffolds that would indicate the teacher has carefully considered the language demands of the lesson could include several activities or resources taken directly from the supplemental guide, such as the vocabulary chart, graphic organizers such as the Civil War map, response card to preview, review, and discuss read aloud content, the slavery and freedom T-chart. You can also build background knowledge before you read. You can take the time to explain how slavery is a terrible thing that has been used by different groups of people throughout history. You can dive a little deeper with building specific background knowledge on this topic for students to make connections. Preview vocabulary words such as slavery and plantation. For example, you could say, in today's read aloud, you will learn that plantations relied on and used slavery. Then you can show an image, the plantation scene found in the CK resources. Then say that the word plantations with me 3 times. Then students will learn to repeat those words and learn the meaning of those words. Plantations are large farms used to grow crops to sell. A plantation includes a big house and large fields for growing crops. Show the image of the cotton plant. There were many plantations in the South that grew cotton. You can also show images of sugarcane and tobacco plants. Then you can ask questions such as, where is the big house in this image? Where are the fields? You can also show additional images that are found right there within the CK resources. Part 5 focused on the importance of differentiating in your classroom during the listening and learning time. CK provides multiple resources to use throughout this listening and learning strand. Take a moment to think about the following question. What are some strategies you can employ to differentiate within CK? And where do you think you may need more support? Pause this video, think about that question, and write down your answer. Be sure that you post your response to the discussion board. Thank you for listening to Part 5, Listening and Learning Strand, Intervention and Differentiation. Be sure to post your answer to this following question in the discussion board.